This is a Windows 11 installation, bypassing hardware requirements, bypassing Microsoft account requirements, removing bloatware, but it's different from my other videos. This one is fully automated. We're going to let Windows 11 install itself. Stick around. If you're tired of sitting through the Windows 11 installation process, clicking next, and then spending even more time removing the bloatware, changing settings, there's a way to make your Windows 11 installation completely hands-off, customized, and debloated from the get-go. Today, we're diving deep into creating a fully unattended Windows 11 installation. We'll be using an XML configuration file that tells Windows exactly how to install itself, bypassing those annoying requirements and tailoring the operating system to your needs. But don't worry, there's a website that's going to do all of the work for us. We just have to answer some questions. Easy. So, what exactly is an unattended installation? Simply put, we create a special file, typically named AutoUnattended.xml, that answers all of the setup questions Windows would normally ask. Language, product key, user accounts, and even which built-in apps to keep or discard. The magic happens with an online XML generator. There are several out there, but the one we're focusing on today allows for some incredible customizations, and I'll walk you through it. We'll head over to the website and I'll put the link in the description. But I need to warn you up front, there are some processes throughout this that if you do not pay attention to, you could wipe your hard drive. I will stop along the way and point out these critical warnings that you really need to pay attention to. Let's get started. But first, check out today's sponsor. Are you using an unregistered version of Windows 11? Then you need to check out keyspan.com. Keyspan offers a wide range of products including Windows 11, Windows 10, and even older versions like Windows 7. Need Office software? They got you covered with keys for Office 2019 and Office 2021. And here's the best part. You can save big with exclusive coupon codes by using my code RK250 to get 50% off all Windows series. That means you can get Windows 11 Pro for less than $20. But wait, there's more. For Microsoft Office, use my code RK262 to get a massive 62% off. Buying is super easy. Just add your chosen product key to your cart, apply the coupon code, and pay securely via PayPal or credit card. You'll receive your genuine activation key in no time. Once you have your product key, go back to the activation page, click on Change Product Key, enter the product key you just purchased, and click Activate. Be sure to check out keyspan.com. Okay, we're going to head over to this website. I will post it up here and I will post it in the description. And this is the XML generator. So we are literally just going to come through here and answer questions that pertain to our installation. And then this will export the file we need. So up first, simple enough, is your language. For me, that's English. And then again, language and keyboard layout. I'm going to leave mine at English and US. I'm not going to specify a second language. Now you might think, well, Ray, we're still answering all these same questions. This is work. Well, once you create this file, you won't have to do this again. So you can install this on multiple computers or put it up for the next time you need a clean install. My home location is United States. My processor architecture is Intel AMD 64-bit. The 32-bit here is irrelevant since there is not a 32-bit version of Windows 11, so you can ignore that completely. If you do have an ARM processor, you'll want to select Windows on ARM 64. For most people, it's going to be Intel AMD 64-bit. Okay, so first up are setup settings. So we want to bypass Windows 11 requirements, the check for TPM, secure boot, etc. And I will be installing this on an unsupported system, so I'm going to check that box. For the next one, it is allow Windows 11 to be installed without internet connection, but it warns you here to only check this option if your computer really does not have internet access, because we will still have options below to create a local account and bypass the Microsoft account, so I'm not going to select this. This next one we won't use. This is a different way of using the XML file, and for our purposes we're going to skip this one. I'm going to check this box to hide any PowerShell windows during Windows setup. Reason being, this is unattended, but if a PowerShell window happens to pop up and we click on it or exit out of it, it could stop the script altogether and we'd have to start over, so we're going to hide any PowerShell windows during the Windows setup. The next one is your computer name. I'm going to let Windows just generate a random computer name. You can also also choose the computer name yourself, or for advanced users, you can create a Windows PowerShell script to set computer names dynamically, and this would come in handy if you are setting up multiple computers and you need different computer names. This next one is for Compact OS, and it says let Windows decide whether to use Compact OS. I'm actually going to select do not use Compact OS. This is for a very specific situation. If you have a PC where storage is very limited, what that does is it will compress a lot of the system files in order to make Windows smaller. The problem with that is if it's an older system, the resources used to compress all of those files might actually slow your system down. So I'm just going to tell it do not use Compact OS altogether. I don't have any issues with storage space, so we're going to move on from there. Time zone, I'm going to let Windows determine my time zone. Partitioning and formatting. Critical warning. This next part is extremely important. The XML generator will offer options for disk partitioning. For a truly unattended install, you can select automatically wipe the drive and do the partitioning for you. But be warned, if you choose this, the setup will take the primary storage device on the system and wipe it clean without any user interaction. If you have multiple drives connected and you boot from this USB, it could wipe the wrong drive. My strong advice, if you use the automatic wipe feature, disconnect all drives except the one you intend to install Windows on. Alternatively, choose the manual GUI option in the generator if you're unsure or want to select the partition yourself during setup. Seriously, double check these settings. This is that critical area that I was talking about. So you can leave it to partition the disk interactively during Windows setup, which means once it gets to that part of the setup screen where it's searching for disk, and then you go in there and delete old partitions and select disk 0 to set up your new installation. If you select this first option here, which is really probably the most safest option, then this will not be a truly unattended setup because you'll have to interact with that portion of it. So for the next one, you can let Windows do it automatically. Let Windows set up wipe, partition, and format your hard drive, more specifically disk 0, using these settings. And for me, that will be GPT. I'm going to leave that at. If you have an older file system that requires MBR, then select MBR. But here's the problem, or potentially the problem. When Windows is doing this automated, it is going to assume that disk 0 is the unallocated space to set up Windows. And it should be. Most of the time, that is correct. Where you could run into an issue is, let's say originally you had a mechanical hard drive or a regular SSD, and then you came back and added an M.2 drive and set up your operating system on there. So disk 0 might actually be your hard drive that no longer contains the operating system. Maybe it's got files on there you're storing, whereas your operating system is installed on disk 1. Windows may treat that hard disk as the drive that it needs to install Windows on and wiping out any stored data on that drive. The best option there would be to either do it interactively or disconnect any drives that you do not want Windows installed on, or if you're sure that the correct drive for the installation is drive 0, then go ahead and let it do it automated. But I am telling you, this is a potential issue. If you're not careful, you could wipe out a drive that you were storing important data on. So please take this into consideration. So under GPT, I'm going to leave this here at 300 megabytes, the default. You can change that if you want. I'm going to leave it as is. In the next section, this is choose how to install the Windows recovery environment. I'm going to allow it to install on a recovery partition, and I'm going to leave that default size there. I'm not going to make any changes. Alternatively, you can use a custom script for disk part, but we're not going to do that in this video. That's a bit more advanced. We're going to let Windows take care of all of that during the installation. And again, this is all script related, so we are going to leave that on do not run a script, and we're going to skip down. So the next is related to product keys. If you're going to use this disk on multiple editions of Windows, like Windows Pro, you should probably just use the generic product key and leave it on Pro. Alternatively, you can enter a specific product key if you have one that you would like to use. You can input that product key here and it will still keep the process automated. If you want to enter the product key interactively during the setup, then again, that's a step that we would have to do during setup, and it's no longer fully automated, but you have that option here. I'm going to choose the last option where it's used the product key stored in BIOS UEFI firmware. So it will use the product key that is already registered in my UEFI firmware. You choose this option if your computer came pre-installed with Windows and you want to reuse that license. Okay, so this next option here is how we're going to set up local offline accounts to bypass the Microsoft account requirements. So for the first one, I'm going to remove the admin and put my name. Then I'm going to leave this at administrators. I'm going to remove the second user. I'm going to leave the rest of those blank because I don't have multiple users to set up. So for the next screen on the first logon, I'm going to leave this to log on to the first administrator account created above, which is the one that I just created. Alternatively, you can have it do not log in, and then it will just come up to the sign-in screen. You can also add a Microsoft account interactively during the Windows setup if you wanted to do that, or you can choose to add a local offline user account interactively during the setup. But again, these options require you to do that during setup, and then now it's no longer automated. However, if you are an administrator and you are installing this on multiple computers, then you would likely want to use this option because you wouldn't want to set up account names up here. I'm using this for just my system, so I'm going to leave the account name as Ray. For the password expiration, I'm going to leave this as the default that my passwords do not expire. Again, if you're using this in an administrative role for multiple systems, you may want to set some password policies here. Account lockout policy, I'm going to use this default of 10 failed logins. You can disable this policy completely. I would not do that because it leaves you vulnerable to brute force attacks, or you can set up a custom policy. I'm going to leave it at the default. All right, now we get into some File Explorer tweaks. The first one is use File Explorer default settings. This will hide any files that has the hidden attributes set. I'm going to leave that there. You also have the option to hide protected operating system files or show all files. In the next one, I always check or enable within Windows the always show file extensions. The reason being is because if you don't know the file extension, again, you could be vulnerable. Someone could have sent you what you thought was a PDF and you downloaded it, but it is in fact an executable with malicious intent. So I like to see my file extensions. The next one is the classic context right-click menu for Windows 11, and that's just going to be this right-click menu here. It'll give you the classic context menu, which I prefer. So I'm actually going to select the classic context menu. Open File Explorer to this PC instead of quick access. I'm going to do that too. Now, if you want, and this is a new option, you can show the end task command in the taskbar. I'm going to leave that unchecked for now, but that is your option. Here, you get to choose how your search box is displayed on the start menu, and you can have the full one, this version, or hide not at all. I'm going to leave mine to the standard full one here. The next one is you can choose the icons to display in the taskbar, and that's all of these icons down here, the ones that are pinned. I'm going to select remove all icons. I'll add some back later. Also, alternatively, you can create and configure a custom XML file to tell Windows which icons you want on the taskbar, and there's some examples here. You can click on and get more examples and just copy the script into here. We're going to skip that. I'm going to disable widgets for myself personally. I'm going to left align the taskbar in Windows 11. That puts your start menu all the way over to the left, like I have it here on this one, instead of in the middle, which is the default. So I'm going to click the left align taskbar. You can hide the task view button. I'm going to keep that. You can have it always show all tray icons. I don't need it to always show all of them, and that's just down here. If you got a whole bunch, it will hide some of them. I don't need that to happen, so I'm just going to leave those unchecked. This is a big one. Do not show Bing results when searching in the start menu or the search box. If I'm searching for something in my search box down here, I want it to bring up local results on my computer. I don't want Bing web results, so we are going to click that box. Do not show Bing results when searching in the start menu. This next section here applies to Windows 10 because you can use this for Windows 10, but since specifically Previously, we're working on Windows 11. We're going to skip this one, and then we're going to come down here, configure the pins that are initially shown in the Windows 11 Start menu. You can add or remove pins later. On Windows 10, this setting is simply ignored. Use the default pins, and that's all of the stuff pinned here. I'm going to tell it to remove all pins, and again, you can do a custom XML file to determine which pins you want. We're going to skip that. The next area is system tweaks. There's going to be a whole bunch of these, so we're going to try to move through them quickly. So I recommend against disabling Windows Defender. I would certainly leave that intact. You can have the disable Windows update selected here, and it just creates a scheduled task that pauses updates for 1 week again and again. So it just keeps pausing for 1 week over and over again. And then if you want to run Windows Update for once, you can click the resume updates in settings. And if you want to enable Windows Update permanently, you can disable or delete that scheduled task. So I have had people ask in the comments how to stop Windows from updating. Here's one way to do that. On the next one, you can disable the user account control. That's that box that pops up to confirm that the program that you're trying to run wants to make changes to your computer. I'm actually going to leave that installed for security purposes. Disable Smart App Control. This turns Smart App Control off in Windows 11. Note that you will not be able to turn it back on. I'm going to leave that unchecked. Disable Smart Screen in Windows and Edge. That one I will disable. Disable Fast Startup. I'm going to leave that one on. Some people don't like the fast startup in Windows. I, for one, do. Up to you. Disable System Protection, System Restore. I'm not going to disable that. By default, Windows 11 will, and you actually have to turn on System Restore. Enable Long Paths. You can enable long paths. This sets the long path registry value, which enables several programs, including PowerShell 7-zip, to use long paths with up to 32,767 characters without resorting to the prefixes. I'm going to enable this. I would not by default enable remote desktop services unless, again, you're an administrator and you're doing this for 100 computers and you need RDP enabled. I do not, and I'm going to leave it. Harden ACLs. This removes write permissions on C for the authenticated users groups. This is not going to apply to me here, so I'm going to skip that. I'm going to skip allow execution of PowerShell script files. I'm going to skip do not update last access timestamp. This one here might be interesting. It can prevent Windows Update from rebooting your computer. This creates a scheduled task that periodically moves your active hours, tricking Windows into thinking your device is in use all the time. For me personally, I don't care if Update reboots my computer, so I'm going to leave that one unchecked. You can disable system sounds. This one is interesting. You can disable app suggestions in the Content Delivery Manager, and that's essentially all of these app suggestions down here that Windows gives you. That one I am going to check. The next one is prevent device encryption. Windows 11 would otherwise enable BitLocker encryption automatically. This one stuck me one time. I did not realize that Windows had enabled BitLocker encryption, and I had a BitLocker problem and could not access data on the file and ended up losing a bunch of data. I'm going to prevent device encryption. Now this one here, hide Edge first run experience. How annoying is that when you first install Windows and Edge wants you to go through that first run experience? We're going to disable that. I'm going to disable Edge from running in the background all the time. This one here is interesting as well. So in a previous video, we did a lot of the bloatware removal after the installation, and natively with the program that we were using, Revo Uninstaller, with the free version, you couldn't uninstall Edge. You can with their paid version, but not with the free version. This will make Edge uninstallable with one caveat. You have to do it right after Windows has been installed. So it says files such that Edge can be uninstalled even outside the European Economic Area. Note that Windows Update will eventually reset the file to its original state. Therefore, if you want to uninstall Edge, do so right after Windows has been installed. Also, you might see an error code here when installing a cumulative update such as this one, but it should get resolved and you can repeat the installation. Also, before removing Edge, make sure you have another browser. Disable Enhanced Pointer Precision. I'm going to skip that. Delete the empty Windows Old folder. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to skip the audit process. Visual effects. I'm going to leave these at the default settings. If this matters to you, you might want to go through here, set it for best appearance, best performance, and then there's a lot of custom settings here for visuals in Windows 11 if you want to go through that. I am not. So desktop icons, you can leave it at the default here, or you can have it show specific icons here that you want on your desktop. For example, control panel, home, this PC. You can select any of these to create desktop icons. I'm going to leave this at the default for now. If you're setting this up on a virtual machine, you can select one of these boxes and it will install appropriate files to accommodate those virtual machines. Wi-Fi LAN setup, you can skip the Wi-Fi configuration. You can configure Wi-Fi interactively during Windows setup, or you can configure the Wi-Fi here and go ahead and put your settings in. I'm going to skip the Wi-Fi configuration. You can also do some advanced Wi-Fi configuration here using an XML file. We're going to skip that. Express settings. Windows will not send diagnostic data, personalized input on your location history to Microsoft. Choose this if you value privacy. We're definitely going to disable. These are all of those checkboxes that you have to turn off at the end of the Windows installation. All of those privacy settings, send diagnostic data to Windows, all that fun stuff that we always turn off. This will automatically disable that. Lock key settings. This again may be very niche. You can configure these to automatically turn on numlock when Windows boots up, caps lock, scroll lock. I'm going to leave that to the default behaviors. This next one we can go ahead and determine some personalization settings during the installation process. These settings are particularly useful if you want to use Windows without activation. So you know how now if Windows is not activated, you can't change your desktop settings or your wallpaper. Well, guess what? Yes, you can. So you can leave it at the default color. You can leave it at the default color theme. I am actually going to set mine to a dark theme here. You can also accent color and other options here that I'm not going to do. You can leave it at the default wallpaper settings, or you can choose a solid color background, or you can set up a PowerShell script and choose specific backgrounds that you want to use. I'm just going to leave mine at the default. And here is one of the best ones. This is where we're going to remove the bloatware prior to installing Windows, instead of last time where we did a bit of a hack by changing our region to world, and by doing that a lot of the programs Windows won't install by default if your region is set to world. Here, instead of having to come in after the fact using Revo Uninstaller to remove programs, we're going to have it done during the installation process using the unattended file. So we're going to come through here and check all of the apps that we want removed. And I think I'm going to do this backwards. I'm going to select all and then unselect the ones that I might want to keep. Definitely don't want Copilot. I'll keep Notepad. I'm going to keep PowerShell. Definitely don't want Windows Recall. I'll keep the snipping tool, although ShareX is my fave. Let's see what else. Don't want any of this stuff. I will keep Paint and Photos. I'll keep the Windows Media Player Classic. I'll keep the WordPad, Calculator, Clock, Paint 3D, Voice Recorder, even though I'll never use it. Okay. Now, of course, in this area, you can run different types of scripts if you choose. We are going to skip all of this. Okay, Windows Defender Application Control. I'm not going to configure this. I'm going to leave that at the default. You can go through here and see if any of these settings may apply to you. And this XML markup for more components. Again, this is a bit more advanced. We're not going to cover that in this video, so we're going to skip down here. Download settings for the XML file. You can change the name of the XML file here. It tells you some reasons here why you might need to do that. We are not going to do that. We're going to skip this, and then we're just going to go here to download.xml file. All right, and you will see that download here in my downloads folder. So now in my downloads folder, I have my AutoUnattend.xml file. So now that we have this file, we need the media creation tool to create our USB flash drive. So we'll go through, chances are you already know that process if you've seen any of my installation videos, but I will run through it real quick. So we have our unattended file. We're going to grab the media creation tool. And I've actually already created the flash drive, but I will run through that process with you real quick. To create your Windows 11 flash drive, just go to Google, type in Windows 11 download, come here to download Windows 11. We're going to come right here to create Windows 11 installation media, and then we're going to click download now. That will end up in our downloads folder, and then we're just going to run the media installation tool. We're going to select our language and our Windows 11. I'm not going to use the recommended options for this PC because I'm going to install it on a different computer, so I'm going to uncheck that box and then click Next. Now you want to make sure that you have that flash drive inserted in the computer, and then make sure USB flash drive is selected, and then click Next. This is just creating the flash drive that we need. I'm going to skip forward. Okay, our USB flash drive is ready. I'm going to click Finish. Okay, now we have our Windows 11 flash drive. I'm just going to go get this AutoUnattended file that's here in the Downloads folder, and I'm going to copy this and just paste it right here into the flash drive, and that's it. And then I will take this flash drive and insert it into the computer that we're going to install this on. Okay, I'm going to boot from that flash drive we created, and if it worked properly, we should not have to make any inputs. I will record the setup but fast forward through it so that we can watch it go through the setup without having to make any inputs. Okay, and we are in Windows 11, completely unattended. Now, I just plugged in my internet, so it'll likely start doing some of my Windows updates. But as you can see, there's no pinned apps, there's no suggested apps. And if I go to all apps, remember calculator, camera, these are all things that I chose to keep. Notepad, paint, photos, snipping tool, sound recorder, and that's it. It only has the applications on here that I selected. Don't have to come back and uninstall anything. My start menu is over here. There's nothing pinned to the start menu. There we go, and my video driver's kicked in. As you can tell, it is also the dark theme that we chose, and it has the updates turned off here by default. So I think all in all, that worked out perfectly. All of my settings were decided ahead of time. It was an unattended installation. I didn't have to make any interactions. It just set itself up. And as you can see right here, this is Windows 11 Home 2.4H2 with today's date as of the posting of this video, 5/11/2025. All in all, that was a success. And there you have it. It took a little work setting up the XML file, but now you can just keep that file on hand, and anytime you need to do an installation, you just pop that in and you're good to go. No more going through settings in the Windows setup, no more having to spend a bunch of time removing a bunch of programs and changing settings after the installation. And keep in mind, we filled out all of the settings on that XML. You could just use this document to bypass the Microsoft account or to bypass hardware requirements. You don't have to fill the whole thing out, and just add it to your next installation. Use this to set up multiple computers. Is this something you will try? How do you think it compares to the other methods of debloating, bypassing hardware requirements, bypassing the Microsoft account? Drop me a comment below. If you found value in this video, do me a favor, please like and share the video and subscribe to the channel. That helps me out tremendously so I can continue to grow the channel and bring you content on a weekly basis just like this. Check out these other video suggestions. And as always, thank you for watching, and until next time.